Evening all, it's Christo here on Talk Radio. Oh dear, some of you are not happy with some of the e-scooter clips that we've put out. Some of you are not very happy about that. Chuck, what are you doing to me, the clips man? I love Chuck, our clips man. Don't tell him that, but I do. And he puts out clips of me on this programme. And I think he's just put out the clip of me slagging off people on e-scooters. What's the name of the clip? Hang on, what does it say? It's really funny what he's called it. Christo has had enough of cyclists and e-scooters. I jump out the way of an e-scooter, then I jump out the way of a cyclist. It's easier for us to walk in the middle of the road now. I stand by those comments. I really do. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. Though Adrian says neither of those vehicles are as wide as Christo, and they both move a hell of a lot faster. I agree with that. You are sort of stating the obvious there. I mean, am I as wide as an e-scooter? We'd have to measure it, but the handlebars are quite narrow, aren't they? And then, of course, you've got the bike itself. I don't know, am I as wide as a bike? It's an interesting one. I don't know. Jim says it's nonsense. It's scapegoating nonsense. Though Teresa has said, I nearly ran a lad over today on his blooming e-scooter. I beeped a few times, but of course, he had his headphones in. Yeah, it's almost a prerequisite. Get on your e-scooter, get up to 25 miles an hour, put your headphones in, ignore all road rules, and you're sorted. Well, Ollie Chadwick is the managing director of Electra-Zoom, who sells e-bikes and e-scooters, and joins me live via video link. Evening to you, Ollie.
Evening, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Lovely to talk to you. So, is there much of a market for e-scooters when they're still not road legal, are they?
So at the moment in the UK, despite that, there is still a market for it. The market is far greater in Europe and America, where they've been able to adapt and adopt this great sort of revolutionary form of transport. We, as you say, retail these products. We do make clear where the user can use them. At the moment, it's just private land or events or places where you've got the landowner's permission. But as we know, a lot of our customers are using them on a regular basis to get about in the urban environment.
Which is wrong.
Yes, technically speaking, they are breaking the law. I mean, a lot of them, some of them still probably don't actually know they are. A lot of them using it on a regular basis very responsibly. I
don't think I've ever in my life seen an e-scooter on private land being used. I've only ever seen them being used on the pavement where people jump out the way, or on the roads where I have to basically drive my car, presuming that these people are suicidal.
Well, you probably wouldn't see the privately land used one, because that is on private land where you wouldn't see that. But the ones on the road, unfortunately, like any form of transport, there are people using them. When you've got a human element, that aren't responsible, unfortunately, just as there are with bikes. But a lot of them are, from our experience, being used in a responsible way to get about short journeys in the urban environment instead of a car or public transport.
But why are you, with respect, I realise you're a business person, you're trying to make your way, and I get that, and I actually admire that, but don't you feel a pang of guilt that you're selling a product that is being used in a way that it shouldn't be, continually?
Well, we're very clear about the regulation when we retail them, but what we're hoping is that actually the UK can adopt what's been done in America and Europe and other parts of the world, and fully embrace this form of transport. We do also sell e-bikes, which sort of are legal as well, which is a little bit confusing because a lot of the scooters have very much the same power and motor sizes as the electric bike, but aren't legal, which does create a bit of confusion for people.
And what is the top speed that an e-bike or an e-scooter can get to?
So an e-bike is regulated up to a maximum speed of 15.5 miles an hour. Now, the user could pedal faster than that if they wanted. Same way you could pedal faster than that on a road bike. Electric scooters, certainly the rental ones, they're limited up to 15.5 miles an hour. So the same top speed.
What if they're not a rental one, if I bought one from you?
So typically most popular models are limited to about 15.5. Some you can get, they'll do 25, 30, although they are the bigger, more sophisticated models.
Which, of course, are also out and about on our roads and on our pavements too, because I've definitely seen the bigger ones that are going way faster than 15.5 miles an hour. I've been overtaken by them in my car before, because many of London's streets are limited to 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, no, that is a point, and that's where I think that because it is a bit of a people are just using them as a bit of a free for all at the moment. That if regulation came into place, as is the way we drive on the roads, and it was strictly monitored, I think that would control things a lot better.
So are you then in favour of registering them with some sort of registration mark?
Yeah, so we're in favour. Obviously, we want them legalised, but there absolutely needs to be regulation in place both for the user of the scooter and the wider community around them. So whether that's speed caps, an age limit, we recommend 14, as is the same with the electric bike. Potentially, the product would need to be registered. Obviously, there's mention of insurance. That's really a matter for an insurance expert. But I don't think most riders would mind paying a nominal fee each month, a couple of pounds, just to cover them, because really it's not, the product, they're not going to be claiming on the scooter. It's obviously if they had an accident with somebody or a third party.
But without any kind of registration mark, how would I identify someone that damages my car or damages me if they then disappear, as cyclists tend to, who might do the same thing?
Well, exactly. At the moment, that is the case. So it is, no different to what it would be on a bike. But if regulation was brought in where they register them, they've all got a barcode unique to that model, then that could be identified.
Or a
If they did ride
registration
off.
plate? I mean, because how would I?
Yes,
So if I
yes.
get hit by one, how would I be able to say to the police, well, it was that scooter over there that did it, and this is the registration mark. You've got to find the owner of this one.
Yes, that's something that could work in Germany. They've adopted that model, so they've all got the license plates on the back. So a lot of the models that we sell now actually have that integrated on there for that market. So a registration plate is certainly something that could be done on them. But obviously, it's such a new, innovative industry. There are going to be teething problems in the early days, but it can, adapted properly, be really beneficial to those who want to use it.
And what do you say to all those people who, like me, say, well, they make travelling on our roads far less pleasant, far less safe. I probably saw at least 5 on my way in, many of which are on the roads, firstly, many of which don't have lights on them, many of which their riders have headphones in. And are you telling me with a straight face that that's not going to continue, even if they were brought in some sort of legal fashion? You and I both know that there is no way on God's green earth they're going to say, right, put registration plates on them. There's no way, with the way in which we are heading, that that's going to happen. So there are going to be many people that are listening to this saying that this is the worst idea ever, and that these riders and the way in which these products are ridden are making people's lives an absolute misery. What would you say to those people?
I mean, it's difficult to say what regulation will or won't come in. The trials that are taking place with the rentals due to end in the autumn of this year, when the government will then release their findings and their decision on what they want to do. But in sort of answer to your question, yes, with anything like that, or a bicycle or a car, you're always going to get people who ride and use them irresponsibly, which is obviously unfortunate. But statistics and studies by the OECD conclude they're as safe or pose as much of a risk as a bicycle. And used in an urban environment, the person on them is far less likely to cause an injury than that of somebody in a car or a motorcycle. Obviously, like you said, it is unfortunate. There are some that you've obviously seen that have been ridden
I've had to
irresponsibly.
jump out of the road with out of
Yes.
the pavement with my dogs, and my worry is also that there's going to be a situation where, I mean, if they are going to be a hire scheme, I mean, how would that potentially work? I mean, I realise you're not the council in charge of it, but would it be that they can be then left on the side of the road, or would they have to be docked in a specific area?
So with those schemes at the moment, they are supposed to be docked in a certain area. The user, when they finish it, is supposed to take a photo via the app that they run on. If they dump it in an area they're not supposed to, they do get a fine because the provider has got their card details. Obviously, this is one of our sticking points as well as a retailer. If they're buying their own scooter, you're never going to have that dumping issue because somebody's paid their sort of hard-earned money for a product that they're going to cherish and look after. But what needs to be done is, with the regulation, a precedent set by the police and those monitoring it, that if people are disrespecting the laws, that it is punished. as the way if somebody drives irresponsibly or speeds, and set something that people know if they step over the line, that won't happen.
I think respectfully, though, it's not a fair comparison, because if I speed, if I go through a red light, if I hit someone with my car, there is a guaranteed way of being able to track down at least the keeper of that vehicle. But it keeps returning me to this point that you can't compare that when it comes to e-scooter use or cycling use, because there isn't that at the moment. And my big worry is there isn't a chance in hell they're going to bring in a registration scheme. I mean, and I think deep down, it wouldn't be something you probably want as well, because it's going to be more administration that's going to hinder people wanting to get onto e-scooters and e-bikes, and that's going to probably hit your profit margins. And it means that people like me who drive our cars, people like me who walk dogs, are going to have our lives in a negative way impacted by more of these being out there. I would ban them, and with respect, I'd ban companies like you from selling them. I don't think you should be able to sell something that is used illegally. I really don't.
Well, strictly speaking, what the onus is on the user. I mean, you could say that's the whole raft of products that are only designed to be used on private land, that people, the onus and responsibility is on them at the end of the day. However, in answer to that, it really is down to the regulator and the government what they want to do. If they want to adopt the German model where they've got registration plates on them, the rentals do all have registration plates on them. That's something to be analysed when that comes. But we've got bikes on the roads already. Rental bike schemes such as the Boris bikes or Santander bikes,
which are dumped anywhere.
Electric bikes on the road.
Yeah, the Lime ones, I have to clamber over them when I leave this building. There's always one I have to clamber over when I'm walking past a certain road to get back. There's always one dumped on my road. There's a Boris bike dumped at the end of my road. And what about people who need to use pavements? I mean, I can't actually express to you, Ollie, how against I am these being brought in on a bigger scale, because I think at the moment there are too many of them to start with.
Well, this is our argument for the privately owned scooters, because you would never have the dumping issue, because that's their own product. You wouldn't just dump that because you bought that, you cherish that. But if you look at it another point, if you're getting people out of cars in an urban environment, a study by the OECD concluded that 67% of car journeys in densely congested areas are less than 3 miles. Now, if they're walking, using a bike, electric bike, or on a scooter, surely that's more beneficial for all of us in a climate where we've got environmental issues. We need to be looking at new innovative forms of transport. If we can get people out of cars, less reliant on crowded, packed public transport, and using these products such as the e-scooter, electric bikes, or alike, it will be beneficial for us all. Of course, there's people that it won't suit their lifestyle. They might not be for them. There are always going to be issues with them, anything you've got human involvement with. But if that can be as stringently regulated as possible by the government, councils and police, hopefully it can run in tandem with all the other forms of transport we've got out there.
I mean, I'm really thinking of can't beat them, join them, because I really like the idea of never having to stop at a red light. I love that idea. I love the idea of never having to stop at a red light. I love the idea
whether
of
people
that.
are stopping. I mean, cyclists are supposed to stop at red lights.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
So, cyclists, are obliged to do that as well.
Yeah.
But again, that is something to be looked at. But if they are in, or another way of looking at it, London, for example, has got more cycle lanes. If they're in there with the bicycles, that sort of keeps them separate from the pavement.
They don't use them, Ollie.
From the road with the road user.
They don't use them. Half the lanes are empty.
Well, no. If they're more and properly provided for, and the infrastructure was there, I think more people would use them.
So, how much would one of them? I'm looking on your website now. How much would? Ooh, okay. It's quite flash looking, and now so you stick it in, just with a USB to charge the thing when you get home.
So it's slightly different to USB, but it's just like it's sort of a laptop or whatever. You plug it into the mains. So the typical road scooters, the smaller ones around the £300 to £400 mark, sort of 5-6 hours to charge, and away you go.
You can get them up to there are some here that would cost the price of a small car, like $3,000. You've got one, the Dualtron.
You can you can really spend some money if you want to, yeah.
And you've got another one here, £2,600. That's a Wolf Warrior one. Do they all have lights on them?
Yes.
And they all got.
They all do have lights of some form, yes.
And so, which one? If someone's starting out, sell me one of your scooters. Come on, I'm a cynic.
So typically, what our most popular sort of model for somebody, the cynic like yourself, would be one of the Xiaomi models. The 1S is a very good example. It's relatively cost effective, far cheaper than the electric bike or even push bike equivalent at about 300 and just shy of £350. What's nice about the scooter is it's relatively portable, so it's easy to fold up. You could take that on the train with you, pop in the boot of your car if you needed to, use it at the other end, carry it up a flight of stairs. It's got a range just over 18 miles on that particular model.
So which one's that? Is that the M36? Is that the M365 one, or is that the Pro 2?
It is, yeah, that one, or the 1S. It was the Xiaomi 1S. Which
I can't see that.
Quite similar
on your website. Oh yeah, the Xiaomi 1S. Yeah. Oh, that's the one that's 338. Yes. Or you've got a lovely shiny red one, which is 900. So what's the difference between them? What's the difference between a sort of £300 or £400 one and I don't know, £600, £700, £800,000 one? What do you get more on the others? Is it simply just range or?
Range is one big factor, but some of them sort of above the £800 price mark tend to have dual motors. So instead of one wheel having the motor inside it and powered, it's both wheels. So that helps if you've got somebody who wants to go a bit further, tackle slightly higher inclines. Obviously come with a bigger battery as well, slightly more performance and a bit more speed.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. You're sort of selling me.
Well, I mean, have you had a go on one yet?
I have never. Look, I don't know whether with my sense of balance and waistline, Ollie, like whether it would be something that I would recommend for myself, because I've a horrible feeling I'd do myself a terrible injury. And also I should remember, I mean, I have to keep remembering on this programme and to remind people, as you have very responsibly, and you've been a great sport answering some of my slightly more aggressive questions, they're not legal. I mean, I have to remember that as well. But I'm just thinking for the times I park my car somewhere quite far away, or, the times where I need to get to a station to get somewhere or something like that. So, I haven't had a go on one. Why would I enjoy it? Tell me.
Well, there is a sort of a novelty element of it. It is good fun whizzing around on an electric scooter. You could have a go on one of the rental schemes where they are sort of approved and currently legal. What a lot of people, like you mentioned, do like about them is if they are commuting into the city from a distance, they can either, like say, park your car up and use that for their sort of final mile, or what's quite nice about the scooter is you can take it on a bus or a train quite easily, do fold up quite neatly.
And how do you hold
use
it?
That as and when you get.
Do they have a little handle on them as well? That you just can.
Yes, they do. They do sort of fold down, and then you've got a handle. You can just you can pick it up. They're sort of about 10 to 15 kilos, depending on the model for the smaller ones. So it is a manageable weight.
So if they're presumably the more expensive ones are lighter, or are the more expensive ones because they've got the dual motor? Are they heavier?
Typically, the more expensive ones, because they've got the bigger motors and the bigger batteries, sort of more sophisticated suspension, they are a bit heavier in weight.
Oh yeah, they've got suspension in it. I mean, the £3,000 one, my God, you could buy a car for that, couldn't you? With someone, do you sell many many of the £3,000 ones?
We do sell quite a few of those. It's more of a niche more niche market. Sort of the Kaboo Wolf, as I think you saw for 2,600, is an off-road scooter. It comes with off-road tires, mountain bike style suspension. So that somebody is literally using that on private land and off-road for that sort of thing. That wants those sort of things are more of a big boy's toy, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether the streets of Brixton would need that kind of level of.
So that is a bit extreme.
But you think I should give, I don't know, the 1S or one of those ones a little go? Maybe the Pro 2. What's the difference between the 1S and the Pro? I feel like now we're in a sales call. This is brilliant. What's the difference between the Pro S?
Very, very similar.
Yeah.
Pro 2 is ever slightly taller, so it's got a slightly taller stem, slightly wider footboard, so slightly better for the bigger rider. And it's got a slightly bigger motor, so a bit more torque, coupled with a slightly bigger battery.
If you're carrying a bit of weight like I am, you're going to need that much, because there'll be nothing more humiliating than getting to an incline, and then finding that you can't get up it. So is that something you have to sort of factor in? Do I need to factor that in if you tell me? Do I need to buy an S Plus electric one that's got a bit more to it or not?
So, I mean, to be fair, they do pack a pretty good punch. Something like a Pro 2 would be more than sufficient for your sort of needs. Sort of commuting about 5, 6, 7 mile trips at a time, would be great. But what you need to have a go on one, really. One of the rental ones where they are, legal at the moment. One of the schemes.
Oh,
have
I
a go,
never do
and then
things like that. I always just
come
buy
back
these
to us
things.
with your thoughts.
I don't. I just buy these.
Then just
things.
have a go.
That's always the kind of thing that I do. I mean, it is quite smart looking. I have to say, oh my God, I'm such a hypocrite. Here I've been slagging them off to high heaven, and now you've seduced me, Ollie. Damn you, you have. Oh my God, they've even got digital display on them and a bell.
Yeah, they've got Speedo. I mean, the Xiaomi models, which we're talking about, can connect to a smartphone app, so you can it logs all your mileage, sort of how far you've been, everything from your battery temperature. So they're pretty sophisticated bits of equipment nowadays.
How did you get into it? Did you found this company? What's going on?
Yes, so I founded Electra-Zoom just shy of 2 years ago now, because I was in America where the schemes have become massively popular. Saw that and saw, actually, this could be pretty cool. I liked it. I'm passionate about the scootering. I ride them all the time. That's one of the perks of the job, testing different models. And I thought this could really work. The UK is a bit behind the US and Europe. And if we can adapt this could be something really big,
So
and solve a lot of issues in the inner city.
Where do you source them from?
So it varies depending on our suppliers. A lot of them are from the Far East,
Yeah.
but some of the companies that sort of owned by them are either US companies or European companies. But most of them are, like most things, manufactured in the Far East.
Well, I mean, it's a very good deal that you've got in your Pro 2. And honestly, this is turning into QVC now, isn't it? This really is. But anyway, listen, I won't take up any more of your time. But now I have got one on my page open. So, Ollie.
Well,
Well, no, you've got. I'm looking at the
to have a go on one.
I'm looking at the countdown clock, and the deal ends in however long, doesn't it? Oh no, that's the deal to get it ordered by Friday the 2nd of April. So I could have one by Friday if I ordered it the next 14 hours.
Friday. Yeah, you could have that Friday. And then see if you convert it over the bank holiday weekend.
Yeah, but I can't return it. You can't return it if you've used it, can you?
We'll do. We can send you one out. You can have a go on it and let us know your thoughts. And if you want to return it, you can return it. Many miles you like, and see what your thoughts are.
Well, I don't know. I'm tempted. I do like the sound of that. It's very kind of for my audience. I don't know if they'd ever forgive me if I came in on Monday. Oh, I love e-scooters, everyone. They're so brilliant. Oh, it's such.
You'll be able to scoot around the studio.
We could try that one day. We could try that. If you want to send one and you want to give me a go at scooting around the studio, then
we can certainly sort that out.
All right. Well, why don't you talk to my producer and we'll see if actually look at the look of horror on her face, that of the potential insurance claim when I break my neck on the Talk Radio studio floor. Ollie Chadwick, managing director of Electra-Zoom, thank you. How dare you have almost converted me. But they all look quite flash, don't they? I've always said I love e-scooters. And I always said I think they're absolutely brilliant. There's such a good mode of transport to get around the city. And what you can do, you can zip around, and you can only use them mainly on private land, of course. So I'm not endorsing getting around the city on them because they're not road legal safe yet at the moment. But I've always said how much I've loved them, haven't I? We'll take a quick break, and then you'll probably lynch me when I come back here on Talk Radio.